If you enjoy the information in this video, or the video itself, please consider give it a like and the channel a possible subscribe. Thank you.
The working class had stopped participating in the pursuit of playing football. This had been the case for years, decades, a generation in fact. Gone had the days of their agricultural past, where Joseph Strutt in his survey of 1801 had described the ball sports as being
formerly much in vogue among the common people of England.
Nowadays, being the Victorian times, it was the private educated academicians that overrepresented the metaphorical space of activity known as the playing field. It was this caliber of individual that took up the hobby on the terrain of dirt and grass, spending their time in this pastime, in fact the lesser order of society that occupied these new industrial towns and cities that had multiplied in size in recent years, showed no interest in engaging in this amusement. They looked down on such activities. Instead, they were quite partial to such forms of entertainment as rabbit coursing, where grand prizes of currency could be won, of course. They even exhibited considerable disdain towards the recreation. Jack Shaw, a member of the York Football Club, mentioned this in the early 1870s.
All sport in which the working man of York seemed interested was rabbit coursing. Hundreds of them used to assemble on the Knavesmire on a Saturday afternoon to indulge in this so-called sport. And when they saw the football players, they made jeering references to the silly fools who kick the ball about in the wet.
Were they being serious? Or was this just a cope? After all, the plebeians didn't have the opportunity anymore to partake in such pursuits. When the Industrial Revolution befell onto these towns and cities that were the products of this economic uprising, these momentous dwellings became so densely packed with houses and factories that the blue-collar community did not have the access anymore to any playing fields. Structures had been erected, rows constructed in their facility, constricting the amusement from these environments. All this was about to change as another revolution, enclosed within the Industrial Revolution, was progressing. This one, though, was going to be a social upheaval, rather than one on economic grounds. The first recreational release came from one Joseph Strutt, the same Joseph Strutt that commissioned the survey in 1801 that claimed the working man was overrepresented in the football games. Now, in an act of prominent physical philanthropy, the Mayor of Derby, being Mr. Strutt himself, created the first public park in 1840, Derby Arboretum. Peel Park, Phillips Park and Queen's Park in the Manchester and Salford region would be the next ones to be created. The 1870s came, and these recreational green spaces would unfold across the nation, like a big bang spreading life into these industrial communities. Roundhay Park in Leeds would be one of these creations. This was on top of Woodhouse Moor Park in the same city that had been given the name the Lungs of Leeds. With this one of the first hurdles had been achieved by the working man, the plebeian, the lower order. They now had grounds to play on, fields to pursue such pastimes without the threat of the Highway Act being thrown at them with a 40-shilling fine. Now they were unfettered from that. During the same period that these urban sanctuaries were being assembled and fabricated, the workers were also receiving another liberty. This freedom being the ability of more time off. The first straw applied to the camel's back would be the 10-Hour Act of 1847. This governmental decree mandated the industries that the lower order worked in mustn't exceed 10 hours per day for women and young people. Around the same fraction of chronology, the informal practice of Saints' Monday was being put into practice. This was the name given to a movement of rebellion, a collective motion of refusing to go in on a Monday. The industries gave in and allowed the workers half-day Saturday to vaporize these acts of crass and tomfoolery. The textile occupation was first to crack, allowing the employees to leave on the 7th day at 2 o'clock. Different trades folded at separate times, but they all did. The Bank Holiday Act passed in 1871, giving everyone, including the workers, an extra full day off. The textile operators would better themselves by giving their staff an extra hour off on their half day. What was the sediment of society going to do with this extra time? At first, at a gradual pace, they came back to the sport until they had a calling. This lure, this pull, this magnetic attraction happened when the nascent formed Rugby Football Union changed one of its laws. They changed how many players per side each team should have, from 20 players to 15 participants, producing a lot more open play. No longer was there a heap of bodies for the next play to be another heap of bodies. Well, not as much. Now the players were not just allowed to pick the ball up and to run with it, they were now doing it. With this more entertaining pastime, the lower order came flooding back to watch and to partake. Before the Industrial Revolution, the football games were mainly exchanges performed by the peasants. After the start of this economic adjustment, the games became overly represented by the educated. Now, though, they coexisted on the same field. How was this going to pan out? Were they going to get on? Well, that's an essay, a novel, an assignment for another day and another time. But until that point, thank you for watching and have a nice day.